all of our speakers, as you can see, that word action has come up time and time again. We really want to help you to move it into that active phase. We've got time for a couple of questions, if there are any in the room in response to our speakers, although they will be with you as well over the break. Hi. You're going to have to... Thanks.
Cormac from Urban Development. I wasn't involved in the first phase, so excuse me if I'm asking a question which everyone's aware of. Have we worked out what success looks like? Or does it have to be organic based on the action learning itself? Because what comes to mind, and it's a little bit reflective of the work that I do, is are we talking about progression or representation in orchestras, ensembles? Are we talking about attendance at conservatoires? Or are we talking about employment? Or, you know, I think maybe it'd be helpful to be clear on what are the pathways, because there are many more than one, and what does success look? What are we trying? 3 years' time, what should it look like?
Okay. Any other questions in the room? And then one here.
Hello, I'm Hannah Kendall. I'm a composer and I also work for London Music Masters. Actually, Sean, you touched on my main question really towards the end. I think it's obviously great that action is the way forward, and lots of you have mentioned that we've been talking about change for many, many years, and there are all of these music education initiatives which are fantastic, which have been happening for near on 20 years. But what are the reasons behind there not being much diversity in classical music? And I'm sure that we can probably learn from those reasons moving forward as well. I think that's quite important, and I'd love to know what your reasoning behind that is as well.
Okay. All right, we'll stick with those two questions, which are essentially what does success look like, and some of the reasons behind the progression that we haven't quite seen. Success.
I think that the most important thing to get across when defining success is really what does success look like for your organisation and for your community or your sector. You can't apply that across the board. In the context of what the Advanced Circle is trying to achieve, it's around trying to ensure that there is better representation, but more inclusion and more creativity in music making, so that people feel they want to get involved and be empowered to stay with it. What we're finding from the research is that there's a bit of a drop-off between ethnic minorities' engagement in music when it comes to sort of advanced learning. The numbers seem to dwindle. So early access, you might find some quite good and really exciting and inviting collaborations. But in terms of perhaps people making music part of their life as a career, or perhaps making music part of their life as a professional, may not be a musician, but perhaps engaged in music, the numbers seem to drop off. So it's not surprising that in the kind of more restricted kind of structures that orchestras seem to still maintain, that the pathways are not very easy and clear. And for some of the things that I mentioned today in terms of attitudes and opinions, there's a kind of an element of dissatisfaction with the way people are treated in terms of their experience of working with orchestras. I had one young person talk to me about the very fact that the very LSSO was a very unwelcoming place for a young musician to be part of. Sure, things can change.
Yeah. No, I think so. Following on from that and picking up on both the questions, so I think there's still work to be done on the progression models themselves, and that we need to have a more intelligent combination or synthesis of formal and informal models. I mean, there's been some great initiatives, particularly in the informal sector as well as the formal, over the last couple of decades, but we need to start to find ways of signposting through the partnerships we have, be they hub partnerships or whatever, so that young people really know where they can go next, and they are going to have the right sort of support and mentoring with that. I also think that we need to make sure we're providing the right type of environments. They have to be welcoming, they have to feel inclusive, be that in a conservatoire or be that just in a local hall or whatever. But it just, I think, like all things, there's a tipping point almost. As you say, there's great first access opportunities and the environments are set up to be as inclusive as possible. But somehow that doesn't translate to the next level. And I also think that this genre question, for me, it's across all the genres. I mean, what does success look like? Well, it's a long game really, but say 10 years down the line, whether it's the LSSO or symphony orchestras or jazz orchestras or other styles of music, mixed ensembles that create and perform their own music, the more and more of those are evolving, which actually really do connect different styles and backgrounds in music. They need to be given the support and the progression opportunities and the platform to be seen and heard, so that inspiration and aspiration raises alongside those. But it is a long game, and it's starting that now, I think.
Thank you. I'm going to cut it there for questions because we're running slightly over time, and we do want to get to the opportunity where you can share the actions on the round tables. So firstly, just please join me again in thanking our speakers. Thank you. Lots of food for thought there. But what we'd like you to do is to gather around the tables and really try and respond to the question, what is the action that's needed? What is the action that's needed? What can I do? Because we are wanting to make it both individual and organisation. What is the action that's needed? We've put on the tables different sort of headlines, as it were. So there's Key Stage 3 there, if that's an area that you're working in or would like to explore. Key Stage 2, higher education, community, early years. And if none of those fit your kit bag, as it were, there's an other. It always sounds a little bit kind of miscellaneous. But actually what it is actually if there are other areas that you want to explore, there is a table for that too. So the way we're going to do this is vote with your feet. What we'd love you to do is to join the table that speaks to your sort of passion, the area that you're working in. Do just walk across the tables and join. What we'd like you to do is to grab a coffee or an orange juice or a cup of tea en route, but if you could move rather smartly to the tables via a comfort break if necessary, we'll have 45 minutes at the tables and then try and reconvene at 25 minutes past 4, if that's okay. So, roundtable discussions with tea, coffee. You've got different tables, key stages 1, 2 and 3, early years, community, higher education. And the core questions essentially is, what is the action that's needed? And what is it that you can do to try to stoke that fire? Thank you very much.